Hello, this is lesson 4.6. We are going to just write equations from tables for today. And we want to write our equation in slope-intercept form, which of course is y equals mx plus b. So we need to find two things. We need to find the slope and the y-intercept. There are multiple ways to do this. Today I'm going to do it the way we did it back in chapter 3. Where we first used the form y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And we're going to plug in three things here. Okay, we're going to plug in y1, m, and x1. So we need to find the slope first. Okay, so the slope here is the rise over the run. The rise, well, I'm going up by 1. And I'm going up by 1. Of course, it's y over x, don't forget, which is 1 over 1, which is just 1. So we know the slope, and then I can go ahead and find my first x and first y. I'll highlight that in a different color here. So my first x would be 5, and my first y is 86. So that's going to go in my equation. So I'm going to write a y minus y1, which is right here, 86, equals m, which I just found, times x minus the first x, 5. And all I'm going to do here is rearrange into slope-intercept form, which means I need to distribute. This one's nice and easy because 1 times anything is still 1. So I have 1x, which is just x, and 1 times negative 5, which is just a negative 5. And then, of course, get everything to the right except the y. So I'm going to add 86. If you want to draw your line, you can, so that you remember to add it to both sides. So this looks like y equals x plus 81. Negative 5 plus 86 is 81. So when I go to plug in for IXL, I don't remember if they want you to write down the whole thing. You would write that whole thing down if they do. If they give you something like this, they might give you a box here and a box here. Then, of course, you would plug in your 1 in front of the x, and 81 goes there. All right, let's do another one. Number 2. All right, so first we're going to write it in point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we need the slope, and we need the x1 and y1. Well, the slope is really easy, just the change in y, which here is going down. If I'm getting more negative as I go here, I'm going down, so that's a negative 15. If you want to check on your calculator, it's y2 minus y1. Okay, so let me erase that stuff. So that's a negative 15 as I go down, and as I go here, I'm going up by 1. So it's, again, the change in y over the change in x. So the y goes on the top, which is a negative 15, and the bottom is just 1. So my slope is negative 15. And here I have my x1, y1. Those are the three things I'm going to plug in. So it's y minus a negative 15. You can put it in parentheses if you want. Equals m, which is negative 15 as well. Negative 15, that one's here. Okay, and then my y1 was also negative 15, so don't get that confused. All right, so negative 15 for the m times x minus x1 right there. That's a positive 1. Before I do anything, I am going to fix this right here, which means y plus 15 equals negative 15 times x minus 1. Now I'm going to distribute my negative 15 times the x, and then the negative 15 times the negative 1. So this becomes y plus 15 equals Well, here it is. Let's highlight so you see what I'm doing here. All right, so this is a negative 15 times x, which is negative 15x. Now we're taking this negative 15 and multiplying it to a negative 1, which becomes a positive 15. When I multiply any two negatives together, I get a positive. All right, so I'm almost done. I just need to subtract this 15 to get y by itself because I want it in slope-intercept form. And I'll subtract 15 from both sides. It does not have an x with it. And those happen to both cancel out. So I'm just left with y equals negative 15x. And of course, if they give you boxes to put in, so you need to know what the plus is, it would be plus 0. But you can just put in that if it just asks you for the equation. Let's do another one. Okay, this one looks pretty easy. We have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Okay, we're going to go find our slope. Change in y over change in x. Well, this goes up by 1. This side goes up by 1. That's 1 over 1, which just equals 1. So there's my slope. Here's my x1. Here's my y1. Plug in those three things. Y minus y1. Here it is, y minus 0 equals the slope is a 1 times x minus 1. This one's rather easy. To change it into slope-intercept form, multiply this by 1, but of course anything times 1 is just itself. And y minus 0, well, that's just y. Y equals x minus 1. You're done. You didn't need to move anything over because it was y minus 0. Okay? Let's do another one. So we have y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right. So we're going to do this. We're going to find the slope first. Now listen, if you have a negative here, and you're confused on how to get from negative 6 to positive 8, then just find the slope somewhere else. Find the slope between these 2 points. It doesn't matter. It's going to be the same thing. From 8 to 22, that's a total of 14. I'm going up, it's positive. And from 2 to 3, of course, is up by 1. And you could double check on your number line from negative 6 to positive 8. Well, think about it. You got to get to 0 first. From negative 6 to 0 would be a 6, and then 8 more would make it 14. So either way, it doesn't matter. Find your slope between 2 points. So we have our slope, our change in y over change in x, which is 14 over 1, which is just 14. Okay, just be careful. Make sure this side does say 1. All right, and then over here we have y minus, we're going to use our first y, or again, if you want to use a different one, if you'd rather do it this way, here, let's call this one y1. If that's y1, which one would be the x1? It's this right here. If you want to use that, it doesn't matter as long as you use a corresponding x and y. They have to match. So here's, if we want to use this one so you don't worry about negatives, y minus 8 equals the slope I found down here, 14, times x minus my x1, which is 2. If you don't like negatives, don't use them if you don't need to. All right, I'm going to solve for y. I'm going to multiply here. We have y minus 8 still on the left. 14 times x gives me 14x, and 14 times a negative 2, this is a negative 2, it's a negative 28. And just get y by itself, add 8 to both sides. So we have y equals 14x plus 20. You can do that in your calculator. Negative 28 plus 8. Okay. Go ahead and pause the video after this one and try the next one on your own. And when you're done, restart the video and you can fast forward if you need to. Here we go. I'm going to find my slope, the change in y over change in x. First, let me write down what I'm doing. All right. So the slope, the change in y over change in x. We get, let's see, this is getting smaller as the numbers get bigger, but they're negative. It's actually getting smaller. So it's decreasing by 10 as I go down this table. And over here, as I go down the table, I add 1 to it. So that is our slope, which is negative 10 over a positive 1, which is just negative 10. Okay, this time we unfortunately have to use negative, so I'll just go ahead and use the first 2 points in the table. If you use different points, it's okay, it'll still work out in the end. So just see if you got the same answer. So here's my y1 and my x1. So it's y minus y1, which is a negative 41, equals the slope down here, negative 10, times x minus 5. Okay, I'm going to fix this first right here. This double negative becomes a positive 41. Okay, I'm just rewriting the rest. And I'm going to distribute this negative 10. I'm going to circle it in a different color. Okay, this is a negative 10 being multiplied to these two things. So this is going to end up being a negative 10x, and a negative 10 times a negative 5 is a positive 50. And the other side stays the same. Don't forget your equal sign in the middle. And just solve for y. Subtract 41 from both sides, which leaves me with y equals negative 10x plus 9. 50 plus a negative 41, which also means 50 minus 41, which is 9. Okay, if you did that one okay, go ahead and try the next one on your own. Pause the video and press play when you're ready. Number 6. Our slope's just going to be a little bit bigger. Don't get freaked out here. We're just going to go ahead and see. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing here. Okay? If you need a calculator, you're going to take y2 and subtract y1. So I'm putting in my calculator 645 and subtract 480. So that is a difference of positive 165, which means I'm getting bigger. As you can see in this table, it is getting bigger from 480 to 645. You're adding 165. From 3 to 4, of course I add 1. These tables are all nice. The x always is 1, so far anyways. So the slope is the rise over the run, the 165 over 1, which is just 165. Okay. Now we're going to write down y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Don't skip steps. Unless you're really, really good, I want you to learn these steps. Okay, so we have y minus y1 is right there, 480, equals the slope down here, 165, times x minus the x1, which is 3. And again, you could use any points you want there. You don't have to use the top two. But if you used this y, you have to use that x. All right, distribute the 165. I I have y minus 480 equals 165x minus 165 times 495. So it's a 165 times a negative 3, which is negative 495. All right, to get y by itself, add 480. I have y equals 165x. That's going to be a negative 15, minus 15. Hopefully you're pausing the video and trying them on your own. That's the whole point. We're trying to do them on our own. Anybody could follow along with the video and do this. You need to be able to do it on your own. So pause it again, do number 7. Here we go. We are getting smaller by 30 and bigger by 1. The slope is negative 30 over 1, which is just a negative 30. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The reason I write it down every time is so that I learn it. Of course, I know it. Hopefully you do now too. So we have to use a negative because see all these y's are negative. So just pick one. So let's go ahead and use the top one like we've been doing most of the time. We're going to pick this one for y1. So it's y minus y1, which is negative 30. Slope is down here. It's also a negative 30 times x minus 1. We're going to distribute this negative 30. Okay, the left side, I'm going to fix that here. I skipped a step here, but that's okay. We're going to fix this. Y minus negative 30 is y plus 30. No matter what, when you see two negative signs next to each other like that, it just becomes positive. There would be no negative in between there. And this negative 30 times x is negative 30x, and then the negative 30 times a negative 1 is a positive 30. Lots of 30s. Lots of 30s going on here. And subtract the 30 from both sides. This is going to be another one with the b being 0. Don't mind my phone. And y is going to equal negative 30x. If you need to know what the b is, it would just be plus 0. But you can just put this as your answer is fine. All right. For that last one, please go ahead and try it on your own. Okay. This is where it gets a little bit harder. Okay, you can pick any 2 points that you want to find the slope with. I'm going to show you with a couple different ones just so you see it's the same thing. If I go from here to here, well, from negative 32 to 0 is a 32, and then 12 more is going to be 44, and that's getting bigger, so that's positive. Okay, and over here, let's see, that is getting bigger. What you can do is take x2, subtract x1 on your calculator. So I'm putting in 37, making it negative. I'm hitting the subtraction sign. I'm typing in 81, making it negative, and then pressing equals. And I get a positive 44. Okay, now I'm just going to show you that that's the same thing no matter which ones you use. Say I did these two. Well, 100 minus 56, guess what that is? That's positive 44. And over here, 51 minus 7, the difference is, again, 44. Okay, so it doesn't matter where you do these things. So if you don't like negatives, try not to use them. So either way, we have the change in y over the change in x, which is 44 over 44, which is just 1. So y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. We're going to plug it in. All right, let me erase this so you can see stuff as I do it. We have y minus the first y, which is a negative 32, equals the slope 1 times x minus the first x, which is a negative 81. Let's go ahead and fix our double negatives here. This becomes y plus 32, and 1 doesn't matter on the outside. I'll leave it there if you want to, and this is going to be x plus 81. So that 1, when I distribute, you guys know that doesn't change anything. Anything times 1 is itself. So this just says y plus 32 equals x plus 81. And we will subtract 32 from both sides, leaving me with y equals x plus, let's see, 81 minus 32 is 49. Okay, and that is the lesson. And this year we are doing Z10 to 70 points. There might be things added depending, but for now, that's one of the things you're doing. Check Google Classroom for further information.